So we've been talking about Tefillah, the art of speaking to God in order to create an intimate personal relationship. Oh, fantastic. So he said Tefillah is called Avodah Shebalev, the work of the heart. And it means speaking from your heart to Hashem. And we said, really, you should just be speaking to Hashem all day. Well, I was on my bike riding to work. You know what I was doing? I was speaking to Hashem. Say, Hashem, it's a good day today. Help my son. Say good morning. Did you say good morning to Hashem? If you haven't yet, now's a good time. Good morning, Hashem. Said, Hashem, help my son in school. My wife's going to have a busy day today. Hope it'll go well for her. Hashem, wow, it's a beautiful day today. Just talking to Hashem. So we've been talking about, there's two types of prayer. One is called informal prayer, just chatting. And now we're moving. We're moving into the world of formal prayer. Now, the words formal prayers are an oxymoron in themselves. That means they contradict each other. It can't be. What do you mean? How can prayer be formal? Prayer is a yearning from your heart to speak to God. So what do you mean there's something called formal prayer? Someone came up to me and said, right, Dov Ber, you have to say to your wife these words at these times each day. And they're not my words. And they're language I don't really understand. And I just go up to her and they're in Italian. I go up to her and I'm like, and I really mean them. I'm like, before breakfast. Before breakfast, I'm like, and then I don't speak to her at all day until around lunchtime. And we're like, okay, okay, and then I don't speak to her at all. And then around dinner time, I'm like, pizza, pasta, dinner. That's not creating a relationship. The most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Formal prayer. Doesn't make any sense. Until you understand that it's the deepest, greatest, most powerful thing in the world. If you understand what it is and what it's doing. So firstly, the book we use for formal prayer is called the siddur. And the siddur comes from the word seder. Seder means order, structure. And we love order and structure in our lives. Do you know who loves order and structure the most? Completely spontaneous, creative people. Because it's actually within the structure and the order that you can just be like, okay, now I'm going. I've got someone who's just no order, no structure, very creative, spontaneous. They actually end up not achieving that much. They can, maybe, in general. But even an artist, they have to have times to... My wife makes an hour every morning to sit down and do art. She's got to make that in a day. Artist. Musician, I have to sit down and practice. In order to be able to be creative and spontaneous and amazing, you have to have structure. You have to understand how it works. So the siddur is giving us structure, seder in our life. And it says what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 main power times that you're going to set aside everything to just work on this relationship. Now we'd say, what do you mean? I just want to spontaneous have the relationship. And our sages say, I like that, but your life's pretty busy and you're probably, you won't get around to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a structure, an order. So I'm almost obligating you to do what's good for you. Firstly, you might not know what's good for you, but secondly, even if you do know what's good for you, are you making the time to do that? For many people, they're not. You talk to everyone around the world. You know that exercise is good for you, so you're making time for it? Well, no, I don't. You know having a hobby, a creative, healthy hobby is good for you. So you're making time, well, I'm very busy at work and I've got to pick up the kids. So our sages, they knew human nature and they said, look, we need at least these 3 times. And it's obvious, by the way, we don't need them to tell us. Shachris, Mincha, Mariv, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's obvious that the first thing you need to do when you wake up is spend some time speaking to God. That must be clear. And it's obvious that towards the end of the day, you have to collect everything of the day and spend time speaking to God. Those 2 are very obvious. And then the middle of the day, you're working, you're doing whatever you're doing, take some time out. And say, okay, You've got to make that time in the middle of the day. Shachris, Mincha, Arvit. Sfarim call it Arvit. And how do we know that that's the right one? How do you know you're meant to call it Arvit and not Mariv? Because Shachris, Mincha, Arvit, Shin Mem Ayin spells Shema. Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Shachris, Mincha, Arvit. Someone lived in India for a long time. And I did lots of yoga, and someone said to me, what do you think about chakras? I was like, we love it. Chakras, mincha, and mariv. Arvit. So basically, we have a spiritual hunger. You have a physical hunger, you want to eat breakfast, lunch and dinner. Your neshama wants to eat breakfast, lunch and dinner. But breakfast, lunch and dinner is chakras, mincha, and arvit. That's what it needs. It's obvious. So we might forget that. So our sages say, yes, there are certain times. My wife and I, we do this. We have set communication times. Now, we always communicate, but at least 3 times a week, once we got the kids to school, we say, okay, now 8, we're going to go for a walk in the park together, and we even have set communication questions. For example, how are you feeling? What do you need? What do you need from me? What's not going well for you? What is going well for you? What's your dream? What would you... So we actually have set times with set questions. Oh, how does that create a relationship? It does. It says I'm actually investing in this relationship by asking the right questions and making time to ask those right questions. That doesn't mean we're not speaking to each other in between. That's why we have formal prayer and informal prayer. So I'm always asking her, how are you? But we set aside this special time for deeper, more focused communication. So this is the difference between meditation and mindfulness. Meditation is a set practice. I'm setting aside time now to do an exercise, for example, breathing, or saying a phrase over and over. That's what meditation is. Mindfulness is just a way of being throughout the day. You should be that all the way. And it really involves 2 things, awareness and intention. Attention and intention. I'm aware of what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it. So you should live a mindful life. So formal prayer is a type of meditation, and informal prayer is a type of mindfulness. Formal prayer is, here's a set time to invest in this. Informal prayer is, that's what I'm doing all day. I have this real, authentic relationship with God. So our sages say, I'm going to make sure you do what you need to do. And this is, I think I shared this mashal the other day. Imagine it was Shimshon's birthday. Imagine I go and give him 10 shekels. He'd be very happy. Imagine I gave him a check. I write out a check for 1,000 shekels. He wouldn't be very happy with that because he just doesn't get what it is. It's just like a piece of paper. He'd be much happier with a 10 shekel coin than the 1,000 shekel check. So I just say that if you understood really what Shachris, Mincha and Mariv were, you'd very much look forward to it. But it's just like, I don't really get it. It's lots of words and I don't feel like saying the words. So if we're not getting tanug, if we're not getting eineg and hana'ah, pleasure from our tefillah, it means we don't understand it's an amazing gift. It's an amazing thing. You get to stand in front of Hashem. So you step those 3 steps into your Amidah. You're going up the 3 levels. Moshe went up the 3 levels, going through the Arafel and the fog and the darkness to meet Hashem on top of the mountain. So when you take those 3 steps forward, by the way, don't just be like, pop, 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 hello. You should be... I am now in the inner sanctuary. Very, very, very powerful to be in the inner sanctuary of Hashem. So this is actually where we get it from. Where do we get our Shachris, Mincha and Mariv? We're learning the Gemara Brachas, Chaf Vav Amud Beis, which funnily enough, my son Binyamin is actually learning at the moment. Baruch Hashem. Avram tiken Tefillat Shachris. Avram came along and he made up Shachris. Now he didn't have the Amidah that we have, but the idea of the first thing you do in the morning is pray comes from Avram. Avram tiken Tefillat Shachris shene'ema, as it says, v'yashkem Avram b'boker el hamakom asher amad sham. He woke up early in the morning. Obviously, you got to get up for Shachris to daven at the right time. And he went to stand in the place that he stood before. Ve'ein amidah ela tefillah. And when it says the word amidah, it means tefillah. He went to pray. Avram got up. Every morning he went to pray. We also learn from Avram that you should have a makom kavua. You should always pray in the same place if you can. in the shul. Because it says, Hamakom asher amad sham, the place that he stood in yesterday. So he always went back to the same place. This is next week's parsha, but this week's parsha, by the way. So we always go to stand in the same place, and it's a psychological tool. If you have a meditation room in your house, as soon as you walk into the meditation room, you're putting yourself into a state of mind. So or even a desk. If you have to go and write your essay, and you go and sit at your desk, then that puts you in a state of mind. So your external environment puts you in a state of mind. So for me, when I walk into my makom kavua, this is my set place to pray, my system knows, okay, it's ready to stand in front of Hashem. And that's why we have Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. The Chazan, in every shul, apart from this, for some reason, I still got to fix that, has the words Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid in front of him on the podium. I place Hashem before me at all times. So if you can, to have a little card with Hashem's name on it for your Amidah, because the Arizal says that basically the best thing you can do when you're ready and you know it off by heart is to have your eyes closed. The Amidah should be said with your eyes closed. But if you don't know it yet, then you're looking in the siddur. Amidah is either eyes closed or looking in the siddur. Some people say looking in the siddur is even better than having your eyes closed, because just to see the Hebrew words is very powerful. The Arizal, why is the Arizal saying what he's saying? Because whilst you're still reading the words from the siddur, they're not really your own words. You're still reading someone else's words. Once your eyes are closed, then you can actually more feel that I'm saying this from within myself. So they're both good, yeah.
I've observed some of the holiest people, like when they do their Amidah, they not only have their eyes closed, but they stand completely still.
Yes, there are two different shittas. One is the completely still standers. I'm a still stander. And then there are the shakalas. And the shakalas are based on a pasuk in Tehillim, Kol atzmatai tamana, micha mocha, all my bones, like, scream out. So it's really meant to be a full body experience. You're meant to get your whole body into it. And also the shuckling, the moving back and forward, is like a flame, because your neshama is compared to a flame, it's going out. So there is natural movement. Long before I was religious, when I was doing meditation retreats, you'll notice if you meditate for a decent amount of time, if you get into a very deep state, your body naturally just starts to go back and forward like this. So if you want to arouse yourself internally, either you're so deeply internal that your body just starts shaking, but if you're not, then the movement can actually arouse you internally. Sages say you should do that. For example, counting the Omer. Basically, you're saying a bracha and then saying a number. So they say, no, like, jump up, get excited about it. If you've got to get excited about something and you're not excited about it, start acting as if you're excited. Start moving. So those are those people. So I'm a stander still, because you're meant to feel that you're not in your body anymore. So if you're moving your body a lot, then you're kind of very body conscious. The still standers are like, no, I'm now trying to be beyond body. I found that I'm a general still stander, but if I'm feeling not connected, then I'll move a little bit too. And then still, so you're going to flow back and forth. Whichever one is going to help you have more kavanah. To feel that you're speaking to Hashem, that's how you're going to be standing.
So I see usually with most people that are still standers, like they'll be like flickering it, like,
yeah, there's a little
throughout
flicker.
the rest of their like Tefillah. Like when it comes to the Amidah, like that's when I stand still.
Yeah. It's well, you got to do what. It's very, very important never to copy other people. You do your avodah. This is why my Rebbe says the lulav is the words lo lev, he has a heart, or your heart is yours. So he says, the Mishnah says you cannot use a stolen lulav. So he says on a deeper way, that means you can't take someone else's avodah. Don't try and copy other people. And he tells a story about a very famous minyan at the Kotel. A big tzaddik led the minyan, and at certain points during the Amidah, he'd do some hand movements. And everyone knew that. And then that tzaddik died, and basically the next tzaddik took his place, and my Rebbe was davening in that minyan, and he noticed that the new guy did the same hand movements in the same place, so he left the minyan. He said, those aren't yours. Don't take someone else's stuff. So you've got to see what works for you, because there are big people who move a lot. Rav Levi Yitzhak Bedichev would freak out. It says Rabbi Akiva started the Amidah in one end of the room and finished up in the other end of the room. So Rabbi Akiva, so I wouldn't copy other people. I'd find whichever helps your own kavanah the most.
Rabbi says that we should stand still
Great. So I say you should do what works for you. Different opinion, Baruch. Two Jews, two different opinions. Abraham tikain tefillah shachris. Shenema v'ishkem Abraham boker alam makom ve'ein amidah ela tefillah. Shenema ve'amad Pincha. How do we know amidah is tefillah? Amad Pinchas v'yifalel. And Pinchas stood and he palelled. And we just had a whole class on what palel means. In this case, in Tehillim, it really means he judged, he evaluated.
And then he acted on it.
Sure. Got to act, well, not during the tefillah though. The tefillah is the intention. And then afterwards, you've got to act on our intention.
So we understand when we say Va'amad Pinchas, that's referring to he prayed first and then he...
The Derech Hashem says before you do anything, you need to daven that if you're going to judge whatever, then you have to daven that you're going to judge properly. When you're going to say a bracha, you should daven that you're going to say a good bracha. The beginning of everything is that. So there are different levels of what tefillah is. Yitzhak tikein tefillas mincha. Yitzhak made mincha as is shnema. Yitzhak lasuach basadeh. Yitzhak went out to speak in the field. Lifnot erev, towards the evening. Ein sicha ela tefillah. And what does sicha mean? It means tefillah. Shenema tefillas la'ani ki ya'atov lifnei Hashem v'yishpach sicha. How do we know that sicha means tefillah? Because there's a pasuk. Tefillah la'ani, the prayer of a poor person, when he wraps himself up and he pours out his conversation to Hashem. That's tefillah, Yitzhak. Yaakov tikein tefillat arvid. Yaakov made tefillat arvid. The Gemara calls it arvid, by the way. Shema, shachris mincha arvid. Shnei amav yifga b'makom. Yaakov, over there, by the way, smashed into Hashem. And he slept there. Vein pagia ela tefillah. And we know that the word pagia means to pray. Shnema v'ata al titpalel ba'ad ha'am. This is in Yirmiyahu. Don't pray for the nation, azeh. Va'al tisa ba'ad ha'am rina v'tefillah. And don't put up for them songful prayer and prayer. Va'al tivga bi. And don't pogea bi. Don't entreat me. So that's also. I always thought, I heard that, why did Yaakov make Arvid? Because we already had Shachris and Mincha, it's enough. So because Abraham only had two sons. He had Yishmael and Yitzhak. And Yitzhak had two sons, Yaakov and Esau. Yaakov had 12 sons. So he was a shepherd, he was working all day and he got home. And Leah said to him, hey, you got to go help Reuven with his homework. And Rachel was, but you need to change Yosef's diaper. And Bilhah was and he was like, oh, I got to go and pray Mariv. So he got out. That's why I made Mariv, because he had. It's a good excuse. So fine. So either Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, but then the Gemara goes on and says, no, actually it was from the korbanot. How do we get Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv? From the korbanot, the korban tamid. Korban tamid was brought in the morning and the afternoon, and then the leftovers were burnt at night. So it says, why do we daven Shachris? It's for the morning korban tamid. By the way, it's korban tamid. Consistent. You've got to be consistent. That's why we have Shachris, Mincha, Mariv every day. Let's just be consistent in our avodah every single day, whether I feel like it or not. Because you might think, I don't feel like it today, I'm not going to do it. Every single day, I'm going to turn up. Even if I don't feel like it, I'm going to turn up. So fine, then they say it's really combined. But that's what the Gemara is. The Gemara is, so korbanot is how we come close to Hashem. Comes from the word karov, that's the avodah. And since the temple was destroyed and we don't have korbanot, then we say that our tefillah now takes the place of the korban. We sacrifice ourselves up to Hashem. We say, okay, Hashem, I'm now standing in front of you. I'm like giving myself as a korban. That's what Shachris Mincha Mariv is.
Can you speak a little bit more about if you don't feel like going, like if you're tired or how to put yourself in that intention?
In general, we said that our avoda, the ta'anug, the pleasure in the avoda is very important. It's not just an extra thing. Hashem wants us to enjoy putting on tefillin. He wants us to enjoy davening. He wants us to enjoy eating matzah. That's really part of the avoda. We get in trouble if we do our stuff not with simcha. However, if we're not feeling it, it's still an obligation for us to do it. Why? For our own benefit, Like you turn up to work. You can't call up work and say, you know what, I don't feel like coming today, I'm tired. The boss will be like, what do you mean? You got work to do, you got to show up. So very often when you don't feel it and you do it anyway, either you start to feel it, or you can feel good about yourself for being a mature human being. You can feel, you know what, I respect myself for turning up and doing what I'm meant to do. And we're going to see a bit later tomorrow that the second thing about Shacharis, Mincha and Maariv is it's not about you, it's about the tzibor, it's about the kehila, it's about the community. It's a team game. So you can't not turn up, the team needs you. You're part of the team. So to be able to... Now, if your avoda is without yearning and love and feeling for too long, that's a very bad thing. It can't go on like that. But you have to understand that in life, in general, it comes and goes. The light comes and goes. The connection comes and goes. It's called Ratzah V'Shav. And we have ups and downs, just emotionally. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes, but we have to be consistent. Consistency is the key. So it means that even when you're not feeling it, just show up. Once again, if that's too long term, and because we have to do this 3 times a day for the rest of your life, it means there's something's gone a bit wrong. It means you don't really understand what mincha is. You think it's like the kid with the check. I don't get it. I've just given you 1,000 shekel check, but I don't get what it is. So, B'yam Darkecha says, imagine you get an amazing gift for your child. You really thought about it, it's very expensive, and the child just doesn't want it, but he says, you know what, I'll play with it just for you because you got it for me. Firstly, it doesn't sound very nice, it's a bit insulting, but secondly, it means he doesn't understand what that gift is. It's an amazing gift. So, it's always been getting the balance. In the mystical system, it's called Rachel and Leah. There are 2 types of neshamas, not just for women, by the way. We each have either a Rachel neshama or a Leah neshama. A Rachel neshama is all about the awe, the light, the divine consciousness, the vakus, the feeling. And if she doesn't have that, it's terrible for her. Leah avoda is, I don't care about that, I'm just going to do what I have to do. And she gets her geschmack, she gets her feeling from just showing up. So Leah's just like, I'm in the game, man. You can rely on Leah. She's like steady, stable, but she's missing, the depth of the connection. Rachel, difficult to rely on her, but she's the one who's really into Vekas. So obviously you have to have both. You have to know which neshama you are. So the way I see it is, so if you're a Leah neshama, you have to start working on, no, I need to feel it, I need to feel the passion. If you're a Rachel neshama, you need to start working on, even if I don't feel the passion, I'm still going to arrive. So you got to have the balance. But I worked it out. I think you have to have Leah Dika Avoda, which means be Leah when it comes to turning up, but Rachel Dika experience. You have to have both. You have to be a balanced human being. So turn up even if you don't feel like it. And when people say to me, my tefillah is not geschmack, and I say, but you showed up anyway, and you tried a bit, and he goes, yeah, and I said, you should get your geschmack from doing something that's not geschmack. Because it's not all about you and, I feel so great all the time. That's very spiritually egotistical. If I don't feel it, I'm not doing it. Okay. There's a higher level, which is, I'm going to do the right thing, even if I don't feel it. And hopefully that will start arousing the feeling within me. Those are your 2 sides. Okay, so fine. I think we'll stop there. But tomorrow we're going to get more into really the structure of the siddur, how the siddur makes sense, and you're going to see it's actually raising up our level of consciousness. Each step of the siddur is taking us to a whole different level of consciousness until we get to the Amidah, where we've just reached the highest level and we're standing in front of Hashem. We do tomorrow.